To walk across the threshold of Dick Todd's barn is to step into a different century, or perhaps even a different universe, like Harry Potter boarding the Hogwarts Express from platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross Station. The barn behind Dick's house on a rural highway in north central Illinois is an exercise in creative chaos. Lumber and pipe, steel, plastic, iron, and solid metal stock are stacked everywhere. Rows of buckets hold decades of collected washers, machine screws, wood screws, lag screws, cotter pins, nuts, bolts, shear pins, spacers, and useful things with no name, at least no name that I know. Every square inch of vertical and horizontal surface, every wall and every support timber, and every bench top is encrusted with the tools of the magician's craft, or with partially finished projects waiting for the next step of innovation. Many of the tools I recognize because I own them as well. But many, in fact, probably most, I can't even name. Some of them look vaguely maritime. All of them get regular use. There are cascades of drawers filled with who knows what, and huge industrial tools like this precision drill press, or this milling machine, or this metal tracking system. Dick Todd plays many roles. He's a gifted wildlife sound recordist and nature photographer. He's an inventor and a tinkerer. In a prior life, he was the head of physical plant for a school campus, but also worked on stock cars, bringing them to the peak of racing perfection. In the barn, an antique pickup sits carefully dissected, slowly being restored. His nature photography is exquisite, and it has been published in numerous journals. The devices he has cobbled together to augment his ability to capture nature's smallest creatures allow him to get images like these: beautiful dragonflies, jeweled damselflies, a single firefly caught in mid-flash, many species of frogs and toads, a chrysalis, and butterflies that it releases, not to mention aquatic insect larvae. Dick is an advisor to many, a fierce advocate for the natural world, and a good friend. I met him through our mutual interest in field recording and our membership in the Wildlife Sound Recording Society. One day he asked me some questions via email about an article I had written for the Society's journal, and before I knew it, we were on a Zoom call together chatting about all kinds of things. I mentioned that I was interested in binaural recording to capture nature sounds, a type of stereo recording that simulates how we hear by separating the two mics by the same distance that our ears are typically separated on our heads. Sound doesn't travel all that fast through air, which means that it typically reaches one of our ears sooner than it reaches the other, which is what allows us to determine the direction that a sound is coming from. When I record a bumblebee zipping across my microphones from left to right, I hear it zip across the sound field from left to right when I listen to the recording. About a week after that conversation with Dick, I got a package in the mail from Princeton, Illinois. Now, I don't know anybody from Princeton, Illinois, and it wasn't a commercial package. Puzzled, I opened it, and from the box, I lifted an exquisitely made binaural rig, complete with microphones, handmade by none other than Dick Todd. Each mic sits on a small ball head so that it can be independently positioned, and each is suspended in a lyre of large rubber bands that serve as a shock mount, and it's protected by a metal mesh sieve. It works flawlessly. I have used that array to record some of my most treasured natural sounds, like this one. Over the years of our friendship, I've commissioned, or Dick has taken it on himself to commission, an incredible collection of microphones and microphone arrays for me, including the binaural setup I just mentioned, a Jecklin disc, which is inserted between two microphones to provide sound separation and directionality, a variation on the binaural design, A geophone, which has a vibration-sensitive device inside, delicately attached to an 18-inch aluminum spike that I can stick into the ground to listen to earthworms and other critters going about their mysterious subterranean errands, and a horn mic, which turns the barely audible buzzing of a bumblebee into the crescendo of an orchestra. Now, not long ago, I asked Dick why he goes through so much effort to create such specialized capture devices for the sounds of the natural world. His answer had several parts. First, he said because the experimentation with different designs helps him to better understand sound and how it propagates, and that in turn leads to better recordings. Second, because it allows him to do bioacoustic studies of an area in a non-invasive way, which creates a sonic record that helps biologists, ecologists, and conservationists determine the health of individual species even when they can't be seen. I may not be able to see them, he told me, but I can hear them, and that's just as good of an indicator. But the real reason? It gives him an excuse to drive out to a remote area, string long cables from microphones he places in prime listening areas back to recorders in the car, crawl into his sleeping bag, hit the record button, and fall asleep to the sounds of the night. A few days ago, another package arrived. In it was a cheap plastic ballpoint pen from a Sheraton hotel, incongruously connected to a microphone cable. When I looked closely, I saw that peeking out of the tip of the pen, where the ballpoint would normally emerge, was the tiniest microphone capsule I have ever seen. It's great for poking into tight places like anthills, Dick told me. Here it is under construction, and here's the final microphone. It works perfectly. Also in the package was a windshield for my parabolic microphone. A dish mic like this one, which is analogous to a telephoto lens in photography, is extremely sensitive to wind, and I had struck out in finding any kind of effective wind protection for it. Dick bought some lightweight lycra, cut it into a circle, sewed stretchy material around the perimeter, and voila, a perfect parabolic microphone windshield. And man, does it work. At any given moment, Dick's workbenches are festooned with projects in various stages of invention. Over here, an adjustable microphone pair made from an old set of calipers. Here, another stereo array. This one's made from a solid rubber ball cut in half. On one side of each half, Dick scooped out a section and replaced it with a large flashlight reflector and then mounted microphones at the precise focal point of each reflector. On this table over here is a partially completed hydrophone for capturing sounds underwater, made out of an old 35mm film can with the electronics safely sealed inside. Here it is before assembly. Here it is put together, ready to be dipped in the liquid rubber that will make it waterproof. Next to it is a stereo microphone array that Dick built from two large funnels with small, sensitive mics mounted inside. The resulting sounds are exquisite. Here's Dick in the field recording with a single microphone version. And this is the horn mic I described earlier that makes a bumblebee sound like a diesel engine. Here it is in progress, and here's the finished product, a work of art. But there's much more to explore in this barn in rural Illinois. For example, in large plastic bins are almost 50 years of pocket notebooks that Dick has been keeping, each one filled with ideas and designs. The intricate technical drawings in large notebooks that have preceded every project include detailed designs for funnel mics, extensible flash mounts for macro photography, stereo mic arrays, microphone capsule shock mounts to reduce handling noise while recording, and designs far too arcane for me to guess their purpose. And the books, squeezed into shelves everywhere, are intriguing titles by the dozen. The Beauty of Butterflies, Steal Like an Artist, Chaos, Stratigraphy of the Eastern and Central United States, A Guide to Night Sounds. When I think about it, there is so much more at work here than Dick Todd the tinkerer, the craftsman, the occasional inventor. There is something essential, a quality exemplified by curiosity, commitment, timelessness, and passion. It isn't new. It's a quality that powered the workshops of Alexander Graham Bell, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, the two Steves, Job and Wozniak, and Dean Kamen. Dick will throw one of his mysterious tools at my head when he hears me mention his name in the company of these people, but this isn't about fame or fortune. It's about the spirit that builds countries, moves industries forward, creates jobs and futures, and demonstrates the importance of training and education, of knowledge and skill and sweat equity and will. Those don't require deep pockets or rooms full of engineers. All they require is the passion of a single, committed individual with the vision and will to try again and again, fixing this, tweaking that, adjusting these, changing those, until magic happens. That is what goes on in Dick Todd's barn in Princeton, Illinois.